Hey guys, Jim from Import Image Racing and welcome back to the channel. On today's video, we're going to be installing the Process West Stage 1 front mount intercooler onto our 2022 Subaru WRX. This is exciting. Stick around. We've had a lot of fun with our WRX the past several months and enjoyed the drivability and performance at its current power level. But since the release of the Process West Stage 1 front mount intercooler, we've been itching for a little more. This kit comes with everything you need to convert your factory or aftermarket top mount intercooler to a forward-facing front mount intercooler with all hardware, clamps, hosing, and piping included. Why would I want to install a front mount intercooler? And that's a great question. Relocating the intercooler to the front of the car allows for a much larger, more efficient heat exchanging core to be installed. Coupled with more direct airflow from the front of the vehicle is a winning combination. All of those factors combined with our intake, exhaust, and ProTune is going to raise our horsepower ceiling to over 400 wheel on pump 93. We're here to party. Here comes the full disclosure moment. With our shop car already being heavily modified, there may or may not be some steps that are inconsistent with the installation compared to your vehicle. Luckily, Process West provides you with a full color picture and written instruction manual to help you along the way. With that being said, let's get started. We're going to start by popping the hood and removing our fresh air duct and the front bumper, both of which can be done with a pick or a flathead screwdriver and a 10mm socket and ratchet. As you can see with the bumper removed, our car is equipped with a whole bunch of stuff that didn't come from the factory, including our VelociStack Big Mouth Ram Air, our Noble X-Brace, and Noble Hellahorns bracket. What you're not going to find is the factory shrouding we had to remove to get all of these pieces to fit properly. So that is one additional step you're going to have to take that I'm going to be unable to show you. But for our application, I think the next step is to remove our X-Brace and Hellahorn bracket as well as our front crash bar. Next, we're going to start to remove our top mount intercooler, and we're going to do that by removing our 4 12mm bolts, then disconnecting it from the charge pipe and removing the entire core from the car. At this point, we're going to start to remove our charge pipe. Now, we do find that easiest to remove our passenger side cooling fan in order to prep that area for removal and reinstallation of the new hot side piping. We'll do that by disconnecting our passenger side fan motor, then we will remove the 2 10mm bolts attaching the fan to the radiator. With our fan out of the way, it's much easier to reach our mounting and securing hardware for our charge pipe. Moving back to the front of the car, we're going to remove our lower shroud with these 2 push pins. Attached to our lower shroud is our ambient air temperature sensor and harness. Be mindful to remove these pieces before just yanking and removing our shroud out. At the moment, we're just going to let this hang, but we will relocate this before the end of our installation. Locate your L bracket specialty flat washer hardware like this and one of your attachment nuts. These are the intercooler brackets that are going to attach the intercooler to the front of the vehicle. We're going to install them with our thin L-shaped bracket on the driver's side like this. Then attach our specialty flat washer and nut. We'll do the same on the passenger side, and my pro tip is to not tighten down this hardware until we fully attach the intercooler to make sure all of our studs and mounting hardware line up. Once attached, our hardware should look like this on the passenger side and this on the driver's side. Next is probably the most rewarding part of the install, and that is when you get to mount and see your front mount intercooler in this space on the front of the car. I always find that the most rewarding part, and it kind of gives you that first look at what it's going to be like when you're out on the streets showing everybody your brand new performance parts. For you guys, it's going to be super simple, but for me, it's not all fun and games. While I'm mounting this intercooler to the front of the car, I will be playing around to see if any of our Noble X-brace and horn brackets or our Velocitec ram air fit with this intercooler. Wish me luck. Well, look at what we have here. We have our Process West front mount intercooler mounted. We also have our Noble X-brace and our Velocitec ram air still on the car. I think that's pretty cool, but you will notice that we do have one piece missing. Unfortunately, with the way the intercooler fits with the X-brace and the ram air, we had to ditch our hella horns, or at least in the location that we had the bracket initially. The other side is if you don't want to run an X-brace or the Velocitec, you could flip this bracket around and space your horns out, and I guarantee you the horns would clear this front mount. All in all, I would say that's a win. Unfortunately, we don't get to run all three at the front the way the car came in, but we can relocate the horns to use all of those funky sounds that they give us, but it just won't be as visible as it was before. Either way, take a look at this thing. Next on the list is to remove these bumper reinforcements, one on the passenger side and one on the driver's side. And once we get these things out, we can move up to the engine bay. Next on the list is one of the most intimidating steps in our installation procedure, and it has to do with our air conditioning. In the instructions, Process West recommends that we make an incision on this metal bracket that is a wiring harness holder. That incision will allow us to manipulate our AC line in order to gain more clearance for our intercooler piping. Now, since we have to manipulate the AC line as is, I'm going to try to get around that step without having to make the incision, and here's why. There's two ways to make that cut. Either remove the entire crash bracket off the car and do it outside of the vehicle, which can be very time consuming, or trying to make the incision inside the engine bay, which can be dirty and lead to other messy issues. Since I have to manipulate the AC line anyway, we're going to go ahead and move that line without trying to make contact with that bracket on the top or bottom. To do so requires a little bit of patience. Although the lines are rubber, there are some aluminum ends on each side, so they are slightly pliable, but if you bend them too much or manipulate them past their breaking point, they could develop a leak. So let me be the one to try it out before I tell you to do it. So far, so good. Our piece in concern was this cylindrical device right here. Now, if you saw from the factory, this piece right here was right above this wiring harness bracket that you can see now. I was able to manipulate this hard line a little bit forward and a lot of bit further down to hopefully expose enough room above our AC line to get our intercooler pipe. Now, we won't truly know if this works until we put our piping on, so don't get excited just yet. Locate your washer bottle S bracket and install it onto the car in this orientation. Remove our 2-bolt throttle body bracket. In our Process West kit, you'll locate our black throttle body adapter. Now, you will have to reuse this rubber O-ring from your factory or aftermarket intercooler and then apply it into the groove inside our adapter. It is super important and imperative to a great seal that this O-ring sit flush inside this housing. If you've never done this before, this can be quite time-consuming and require a bit of patience. But believe me, you're going to thank yourself if you just take the time to do it right. Install your throttle body adapter with your provided lengthened hardware. At this point in the installation, we are going to try to test fit our upper cold side intercooler pipe, just to make sure that no additional clearance for our air conditioning is needed. Our top pipe is in and we have clearance. This is looking good. I wanted to take a second to kind of show you everything that's going on up here. I had to make a slight modification to my last modification, and I wanted to get pretty close and personal so everybody understands what we've got going on. Unfortunately, the top pipe didn't quite have the clearance the way it was. So what we ended up doing is removing our wiring harness clip that was right here. It was actually on the side of the bracket that my finger is on. I was able to unhook that, remove it to this side, basically the center line of the vehicle closest to the intake manifold, and that gave me more clearance to push our cylinder down. Once I pushed the cylinder down, I had all the clearance to install the bracket. Here we are with our clearance. Let's get the rest of this cold side piping on so I can confirm fitment. I'm loving it. One other thing I saw while I was putting this top pipe on is we had a bracket on our brake booster line that wasn't in any of the pictures or the installation instructions, which had me kind of wondering, why didn't they bring this up? And then it hit me. They're Aussies, so all of their driver seats are on the other side. And then once you actually go over the install, you'll notice that the brake booster is over here and not over here on their installation. All I had to do to clean that up was remove the bracket, and then I just kind of zip tied it ever so slightly down here for rigidity, but it still looks good, it looks nice, and I don't think we're gonna have any issues. Now that we have our silicone pre-installed on the intercooler and our top side pipe, we're gonna locate this cool J looking pipe we have right here, and then we are going to attempt to install it and check our clearance. Nice, looking good. Reinstall your radiator fan. Back over at the bench, we're going to locate our new hot side charge pipe, as well as our factory charge pipe or our aftermarket charge pipe adapter. Just like our throttle body, there's going to be an O-ring inside this charge pipe or charge pipe adapter. As well, there will be this C-clamp spring. Both the O-ring and the spring we're going to have to relocate onto our new charge pipe. Once we've installed our O-ring and our spring clamp, we can install our charge pipe onto the car. Another good piece of information for you is we are using the aftermarket ETS intake on this car, and it looks like we are going to have plenty of clearance. It's really nice to know that we can confirm fitment between these two products. Next, we're going to find our U-shaped silicone and our final piece of intercooler piping. Now here's a tidbit of information that's probably going to help you out some way or another. When you find your U-shaped hose, one side of the hose is going to say Process West. The other side is not going to have any markings on it. You're going to want the side that says Process West to go up into the engine bay. With that hose loosely fitted, we're going to get our last piece of piping, and with our small tab facing the intercooler core, we will install that into the setup. After tightening all the couplers, reattach our ambient air temperature sensor to the location there. Now it's time to reinstall our crash bar. That's right, with this Process West Stage 1 kit, you get to maintain or retain your factory crash bar. So there's no need to purchase an aftermarket crash bar or wonder what's going to happen to you in the unlikely event of an accident, which makes this one of my favorite parts. We get to maintain safety while upgrading power and performance. Take a look. Man, this thing looks great. Everything is tucked up in there nice and tight. We've got fitment everywhere and nothing touches. The X-brace clears the intercooler and the intercooler clears the crash bar, and all the piping has plenty of clearance, and I am super excited about the fitment. One thing I didn't mention is because this car was already equipped with hella horns, we didn't have to relocate the factory horn system. But during our reassembly, I did want to install one of the horns back onto the car, and I was able to kind of just mock up and modify the horn bracket that Process West gives you to install our at least single hella horn. So now I've just got to wire that up, put the bumper back on, and we can call this done. Thanks for taking a look at the installation of the Stage 1 Process West front mount intercooler for the VB chassis WRX. As far as my thoughts, if you're looking for a high quality, well-fitting, relatively easy install, at least from a front mount intercooler standpoint, then the Process West Stage 1 is definitely for you. But how about performance? Well, we're going to have to retune this vehicle in order to reap the benefits from our new front mount intercooler. So in our next video, we will be comparing results from our ETS top mount versus our front mount Process West intercoolers. And believe me, I think we're going to hit over that 400 wheel horsepower mark, at least on 93. Be sure to stay tuned for that. And while you're here, hit that like and subscribe and help us build the channel so we can keep doing cool stuff just like this. So for thousands of parts just like this, plus tons more, be sure to hit up importimageracing.com for all of the best deals on the web and in the world, and we'll catch you on the next one.